thank you everyone for participating in that, and thank you to the facilitators for leading us through that connection. These are the types of connections that we're going to be using for the rest of the day, and hopefully the rest of our lives. And actually, I have the great pleasure of introducing Helen Woodward, and she's also going to be helping us understand connections to compassion and leadership and courage. And I had the pleasure of meeting Helen actually less than a year ago, virtually. And I love when I make virtual connections and I know someone online before I know them in person, and then I meet them and find them to be these amazing individuals. And I was originally, when I met her via email, I was struck by her compassion, kindness, and courage. And what I really love about Helen being here is that she is an activist. She has done amazing things all over the world. She will tell you those stories. But she's worked in Nepal, she's worked in Bulgaria, but she's also an educator. She's a teacher, like many of the people in this room. And so she's an activist every day working to help make the world better. And she's also really innovative. So she suggested, we started talking actually because she heard about the work we were doing. And she said, I want to come and study this. Like, let's bring a group of adults to learn from students. And I think that's phenomenal innovation. A lot of times adults get together and they learn about students from other adults, but for adults to come together and learn about students from students, that's the real world. That's what we should be doing. And so we started talking about this idea of a study group. And I thought it was a normal thing, like, oh, they must do this in the UK. And we found out that actually, no, it's this new pilot that we're trying. And so yesterday when Jennifer introduced them, they're here and they're learning from us. But we also get to learn from them, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce Helen, who is going to talk to us about leadership, compassion, and
courage. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We bring greetings from England, as Tara says, and from Manchester, and we are delighted to be here, and thank you so much for the warm welcome that we've had. This is a lovely picture of Manchester Deansgate in England, painted by a Year 10 student from Bolton called Nuala Fowler. She's now studying art, actually, you'll be glad to know. With a talent like that, that's good, isn't it? Okay. And I thought I'd share with you as well, thank you so much. I have a cold, so if I start coughing, just bear with me, all right. This is an emblem which is very familiar in Manchester. It's been an emblem for about 150 years. Manchester has a huge textile industry, and the mills were regarded as hives of industry. So the bee has been on our standard for quite a few years now, and is also a symbol of strength for our city. We have other great views as well, so if you do come to Manchester, England, make sure that you get out into the countryside as well and see some of the lovely views. So when I first met Tara and we began sharing ideas about our work, I talked with her about some of the work that Rafiq and I have done in Nepal, and she asked that I share some of that with you, and I will be doing that this morning. But this is what we're going to focus on today. Why do courage and compassion matter in leadership? Where does our leadership courage come from? What are leadership ethics? And how do we develop courage and compassion? So that's our endeavour this morning, which we'll invite you to join in with us, okay? So first of all, I'm interested to know from you, when we talk about leaders, who are we talking about? How will we recognise them? Who can be a leader? Listen, I've got an hour, so if you don't speak, it's fine, I'll just wait. Thank you.
Someone who decides to start something and be someone who will lead other people in making a difference.
Someone who decides to start something and lead people in making a difference. Do you know what? We've got some roving mics here, and I'm just going to ask that somebody takes a roving mic for me. Thanks, Maxine. Okay, so if you put your hand up, Maxine will come and take a roving mic. And there was another one somewhere. No, okay. There was a hand over here as well, Maxine. But yeah, who can be a leader?
Well done. Okay. Who can be a leader? anyone can be a leader, but someone who is more assertive, like they know what they're doing, so they can be a leader.
Okay, anyone can be a leader, but you have to be a bit assertive. Okay, there's an idea. We've got one over here. Oh, we've got loads now. One here, one here, one here. It's just sort of having to wait an hour in silence. People have decided to talk up. It's good.
A leader is a person who people look up to.
Okay, so somebody who's got followers, actually. Okay, thank you. We've got one here and one over, oh, a couple over here, Maxine. One here.
Takes initiative.
Takes initiative. We've got a couple over here. Thank you.
Someone who wants the good of others and seek knowledge.
Oh, so now we're getting into what kind of leader. All right, I'm going to leave it there because that's a great place to stop. Thank you, Maxine. So now we're into what kind of leader. We've got one more over there, and he looks really keen, actually. Let's just let one more come. Okay.
There you go. A leader is someone who has the skill to make a difference or change something in the world.
A skill to make a difference and change something in the world. All right, thank you very much. That's great. I'm going to move us on to another question, though. Because we've started off saying that we're going to find out about courage and compassion in leadership. Don't sit down yet, Maxine. But let's just think about this. What would leadership without courage and compassion look like? What would that look like? There's one here. We've got a couple here. Let's go this side. They were quiet last time. Okay. Dictating. Okay. Someone who's harsh and okay. Dominating. Someone who puts themselves before others. Okay, let's have one more at the back there.
Leads to like a weak community.
Oh, so this is a weak leader. I didn't. The community has no courage and compassion. Wow. All right. Thank you. So actually, that drop ripples out. Okay. So that ripples out. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay. This is good. You may sit down. Thank you. All right. Okay. I recently talked with some year fives in England at a school in Manchester about our Rebuilding Schools Nepal project. We support a school in the Himalayan mid-hills. And we first visited that school 2 weeks before the 2015 earthquakes. And I was telling the children in Salford about this school, and they had all kinds of questions. They wanted to know what kind of animals might be extinct. They wanted to know what kind of money you use in Nepal. They wanted to know how far the children have to walk to go to school, and the answer is it's a long way, sometimes 2 hours walk to get to school. They wanted to know where you go to the toilet, and actually that's a really good question because this school has no toilets yet. We're just working on that. And then one of them asked me this, and it was such a good question that I thought we'd focus on it today. One of them said to me, "Are you who you want to be?" I said, just ask me that again, because I thought she'd meant to say, are you doing what you want to do? But actually she said, are you who you want to be? And I thought that was such a good question that we should spend a bit of time on it this morning. Because it leads me to more questions like, am I the leader I want to be? Who am I aspiring to be? What future self do I see? So I thought we should spend a bit of time on this morning. And I was delighted actually to see in Jordan's presentation yesterday, which was fantastic, wasn't it? I was delighted to see that he finished with that point about what's important to you. Because actually we can feel pulled by this is important, this is important, this is important. And we can feel that sense of being pulled to things that are really important, but they're other people's priorities. And this is about actually what's important and personal to you. So let me ask you to think about 2 questions. And I'm going to give you just a few minutes to think about this and talk with the person next to you. Okay, so we're going to go for kind of 2 minutes and 2 minutes. What is it that really matters to you? And what are you great at? All right, what matters and what are you great at? So rather than use post-its, because we haven't got post-its where we are this morning, I would just like you to talk with the person next to you, your elbow partner, as we say. All right, 2 minutes about what's really important to you and what are you great at. Go, I'll time you. All right, thank you. Finish your sentence. Well done, everybody. All right. And I'm wondering, Maxine and Rafiq, if you've got your mics, great, thank you. I'm wondering if anybody would like to share with us what really matters to them. We've got one over here. We've got one over here. Oh, we've got a couple over that way. What really matters to you?
What really matters to me is giving out a positive vibe wherever I go and making sure everyone around me is okay and not hurting anyone. And if I do, I get mean.
If you do, you get what?
Like, wherever I go, I don't like to hurt anyone.
Yeah.
And if I do hurt anyone, it wasn't like on purpose or anything.
Oh, okay, I've got you. So what really matters is actually having a good effect on the people around you.
And like in places I go, even if I don't know the people, I just like to give out positive vibes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's have one from this side. Yes.
I'm really passionate about like discrimination of any kind, and like especially oppression based off of discrimination. And I think like I'm good at standing up to people and not caring if they think that it's stupid.
Thank you very much. Okay, so somebody really passionate about equality. Thank you. Okay, let's have another one from this side. Oh, we've got one. Yeah.
I really want it to be like everyone feels comfortable. Like some people aren't open, but I like to talk a lot, so like I make sure that they feel comfortable wherever they are, and I don't like hurt people, so like I make sure that I apologize if I feel like I offended someone or that I hurt their feelings.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks, Maxine.
What matters to me is the happiness of others and for everyone to stay motivated and inspired and not to look down on themselves. I think that they don't mean anything in this world, and I want them to know that they're capable of doing anything for the person.
Okay, so motivation. Thank you very much. I'm going to take just a couple more. We've got so many ideas, which is great. Rafiq's got one over there. Yes, that would be lovely. Thank you. We'll just take one from there. Oh no, somebody's nearly. Oh, yeah.
Just me to encourage development in all things such as education or anything. I'm trying to make an impact to change something in a positive.
Okay, so change. Okay. We'll take one more there.
What really matters to me is to share love with everyone and have fun and to live in a world that has injustice.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so passionate about justice. Let's take one more over there. Thank you, and then we will have to end because otherwise this will just go on all day. Ooh, nice. That's a good one to end on, isn't it? Taking risks. Okay, thank you both very much. We will need the mics again in a moment. Okay, now this is really important. Okay, this is about developing a personal and deep understanding of what honestly fulfills you. It's about developing your own sense of purpose, what excites you, what energizes you, what engrosses you. So it's not a received narrative, it's your own story. This is the beginning of your own story, not someone else's ambition for you. So it's really, really important. If you're struggling with thinking about what it is that fulfills you, and that's fine, by the way, it's fine to take some time over this because it's really important. Have a look at this. This is a great quote. If you want to build a boat, don't instruct men to saw wood and stitch the sails. but make them long for setting sail in distant lands. Okay, so this is about the purpose behind what you're doing. Okay, why would you want to build a boat if you didn't want to sail? All right, it's about the inspiration. And it's the seed from this, and we had a lovely quote yesterday from Mads about actually they thought they could bury us, but they didn't realise we were seeds. These are the seeds that push through the hard ground and go. This is the why, if you like, for your aspiration. And I know those people that were in Jordan's workshop, he talked about the power of why, didn't he? Okay, so this is the why. And it's this that sustains you through the challenging times. I've got a couple of pictures now, which are about leadership, but I'm just wondering if anybody would like to make some suggestions as to why this picture talks with me about leadership. Okay, we've got one over there. Okay, people are getting quicker now because they're worried that I'm just going to make them wait. Yeah, absolutely, it's good for you. Okay.
So it's kind of like in spring, when one flower grows, they all start to grow after it. So it's like how one flower is needed and it starts to rise and all around after.
Thank you very much. Okay, so one flower rises and actually more flowers come. So there's an image of leadership there. We've got one over the back here, Rafiq. Okay.
Everyone uses it in their own different way, but they're different colors, that they have different personalities, and they have different paths they want to choose. They're all different. There's two that are the same, they have different colors, but they all have different perspectives on the same matter.
Right, that's lovely. Thank you very much. And what's lovely is that both these contributions are different to the ones that I would have made, actually, which is really lovely. And this is why we came, isn't it, to actually learn and hear about, your views. Can we just take one more? I'm sure we've got time. Go on, let's have one more.
Maybe one flower cannot stand by itself, but having many flowers beside each other, they can be able to stand.
Okay, that's lovely. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. So this is, sometimes leadership goes really well. Sometimes you're in the right place, doing the right thing with the right people. And we have a phrase in England, a bed of roses. Okay, that means it's going really, really well. So a bed of roses, sometimes that's what leadership's like. But what about this? What do you think this might be about leadership? Do you know what it is? It's a dung beetle. I know, that's right, no. Okay, so what does this tell us about leadership? We've got one here. Do you ever feel like you're just in the wrong place, Maxine?
Being strong when times are tough, and even if you're alone, you're still standing up for your purpose.
Okay, so you're sticking with your purpose even though you're on your own and it's dry and arid and tough. Nice. Okay, anybody else? You had a couple, so I'm looking for somebody else. Hold on, let's let somebody else have a go. Janet. Let's let Janet have a go. Being willing to do the dirty jobs. All right, thank you very much. All right, we've got one more at the back. Let's take one more at the back. And then, Rafi, you can sit down, honestly. We'll just take one more.
It's like we said yesterday, the presentation that you wrote that keeps you going. So here is a person who has a strong personality,
Okay, so you're keeping on going, you're pushing through. All right, thanks very much. You can sit down now. Okay, that's lovely, thank you. I took this photo when we were actually lost in the Laetare Mountains in Italy. It was some points in that day were quite difficult, and we came across this dung beetle, and I thought, leadership sometimes is like balancing on your hands in a dry, arid desert, trying to push a large piece of poo uphill. Okay, that is sometimes how it is. Okay, so which of these images helps us think more about courage and compassion? Oh, we're quiet now, we're having to think. All right, we're having to think. So which image makes us think more about courage and compassion? Okay, we've got one over here. Sorry, Maxine, just behind you. Let's just have one. I know you're so keen and you've answered a couple, but in the red top there. Thank you. Go on. Which image makes you think more about courage and compassion?
This picture explains it more because it shows that there's a load to carry when you're a leader, while the other picture makes it look like it's all like happy.
Okay. So this speaks to you more about courage and compassion because it shows there's a load to carry sometimes. Okay. Okay, thank you. Do you feel sorry for the dung beetle? No. Okay. Courage. Courage is based on what William Blake called a firm persuasion. So he talked about what absolutely fulfills and motivates you. William Blake was an engraver, embosser, who wrote poems and songs. And he said, "My fingers emit sparks of fire, such is my passion for my labours, because I have a firm persuasion." So what fulfills you, what matters to you? It's really important that actually, as Jordan was saying, it comes from your heart. All right, it's not about what your teachers or parents think you should do. It's actually about what your heart, what matters to you and is important to you. And it comes from finding the very core of what contribution you most want to make on this earth. And if you don't know the answer to those questions, and they are scary questions, that's okay. Because it takes some time sometimes to come around to what those things might be for us. So our courage grows from a deeply considered and articulated sense of purpose. Working out what you're really good at, what fulfills you, and what you're passionate about is at the core of your courage. And it's from that courage that you find the energy to get in the struggle. All right. Does anybody know who said this? Anybody know who said this? Okay. All right, it was Winston Churchill that said this. Okay. But let's be really careful about this quote, because actually we ascribe goodness to this in hindsight. Okay? Actually, that could be said about all sorts of leaders, whether or not they've got courage and compassion. Okay? Okay, so we can ascribe goodness to it in hindsight, but lots of leaders can be like that. And we've already talked about what leadership without courage and compassion can be like. Okay? But let's just have another minute to think about the authenticity of the story you talked about earlier. Okay? So if you reflect on your earlier conversation with your elbow partner, let me ask you to think about this. If you had absolutely no worries about what other people thought, would your story change? Okay, so think about Jordan's parents' response to him no, you can only do it if you go with a charity. All right? So just think about that for a moment. Let's just have 1 minute each way. If you had no worries about what other people thought, would your story change? Okay? 2 minutes. I'll tell you when it's up. Go. All right. Well, let's talk a bit more about compassion and courage. This is a village called Kolakarka. It's quite high. It's about 9,000 metres. Okay. 3 years ago, Rafiq and I got on a plane to Kathmandu. I've always been really clear about my vocation to work with children and young people, Rafiq too. I've worked in children's homes for children who are looked after because they can't be with their parents or they have no parents. I've lectured in early childhood studies. I've worked in day nurseries. I've had strategic roles in local authorities, worked at the University of Manchester, and more recently worked for the UK government in the Department for Education, where I was head of school improvement. I had a large national team, huge budget. But prior to this journey, I'd begun to experience a growing sense of dissatisfaction. I had a great team, a really great boss who I'm still in touch with, and who had a great sense of humour, which made a massive difference. I had a really good, committed, dedicated team across the country. But for me, the path seemed to have faded, and I felt, frankly, a bit anomic. I was in a leadership role, however, and it was incumbent on me to find purpose and hope each day and continue to support and challenge my team and motivate them. But actually, my sense of disturbance became quite profound. And I had a terrible experience of falling, tumbling. It's quite hard to describe, but it was becoming harder and harder to find that sense of purpose every day in the work I was doing. So I began to feel a new idea, a new seed was growing somewhere, but as if it was hidden from my view. And I knew I was looking for something, but I didn't know what. I wasn't sure if I'd recognise it when I saw it. But either way, we decided that we were going trekking, and that's what we did. So we got on a plane, went to Kathmandu. We spent a rather unfortunate 24 hours in Delhi airport, which I don't recommend, all right. We were very well looked after, actually, by a Gurkha who took pity on us. But when we arrived in Kathmandu, my luggage didn't, so we were about to go trekking. I had no luggage. I picked up a few things very quickly in Kathmandu, and a nice woman in a village made some clothes for me, because I just had what was in my day sack, really. I had an unusual experience, actually, when we found this lady, of her coming out to measure me, and this was fascinating to the villagers who all came out to watch. I said to Seema, I said to one of our guides, a very young guide, I said, "Is there a Nepali word for privacy?" "No, ma'am," she said. I said, "All right then." Okay, so our travelling stories from that trip could take a long time to tell you about. We slept on airport floors, we got stuck in ruts on the road, we got stuck behind a communist banda, which is like a lock. Okay, there's unstable government in Nepal, so frequently there's a kind of blockade that stops you going in and out of Kathmandu. It will be safe, Sunil assured us, because if they burnt our vehicle, it would be an international incident. Great. Makes me feel better. Okay. So we've seen the dung beetle, and we know actually that struggles don't necessarily mean we're going in the wrong place. Sometimes we struggle and our commitment grows during the struggle, okay? But exhaustion comes if we stay on a path that we think we've got to be on, which actually we don't have a passion for, we don't have a sense of purpose for. That's when exhaustion comes. There's a great quote from the poet David Whyte who says, "The antidote to exhaustion isn't rest, it's wholeheartedness." Okay, it's wholeheartedness. Wholeheartedness is about being clear about why you're doing what you're doing, your sense of purpose. So our paths led us here. Stunning views, highest mountain range in the world, all right, it's beautiful. And in time, we came to this school. I'd read about this school and read about the head teacher, Kamal Bikram, who made us very welcome in his home, gave us black spicy tea, and we sat and listened while he talked about his school. Kamal had been educated in Kathmandu, and he'd returned to his home village in 1997 as he felt he could do more in the village. He talked calmly, clearly, humbly, and with such grace. He talked about how during the rebel uprising, he'd been threatened at gunpoint by the communists who wanted him to join. Many teachers lost their lives during that time. And he'd refused to join the rebels, saying, "If you have the right to carry arms, I have the right to be the head teacher and carry on educating the children from these villages at my school." And this school provides for children from 5 remote villages. And here we were in the company of a village and community leader whose courage and compassion were absolutely immense. So we left Tek Singh, carried on with our trek, went to our summit. But something had changed. Something had changed, and we knew we had to help. This school provides for children 10 to 16, but they had no provision for what they call plus twos, so kind of 16 to 18. In England, we call that A-levels. I'm not sure what you call it here. Okay. High school, okay. So because these children didn't have the last 2 years of high school, none of those children could enter the professions. And we were aware that a new sense of purpose was emerging for us. And here was a project that actually we needed to support. Sometimes we talk about finding our purpose, but perhaps sometimes our purpose comes and finds us. It's not actually something you can force into place. And I'm just going to read you a poem by Rainer Maria Rilke, the German poem. Okay? And it goes like this. This clumsy living that moves lumbering as if between ropes through what is not done reminds us of the awkward way the swan walks. And to die, which is the letting go of the ground we stand on and cling to every day, is like the swan when he nervously lets himself down into the water, which receives him gaily and which flows joyfully under and after him, wave after wave, while the swan, unmoving and marvellously calm, is pleased to be carried each moment more fully grown, more like a king, further and further on. David Whyte comments on this poem that all you have to do actually is move towards the elements you love the most, the people, the conversations, the places and the endeavours. Education, the chance to change your life, supporting young people and their aspirations and education, trekking in mountains. I love all these things, and here, having moved closer to those elements again, I refound my sense of purpose. The energy, hope and courage and compassion, it all flows from there. The roads since the earthquakes are more treacherous. Getting new equipment from the school can only happen in the dry season, sometimes. It's still a massive and very, very slow. It's very slow work. We've put in a water supply, we've put in stationery. I can't tell you how joyous it was last time we were there and how humbled we felt to be invited to help with prize giving. And actually the stationery that was used was paid for by schools from Manchester who'd fundraised. We continue to support them as they're working towards building a library. The work is constantly hampered by unmade roads, by continuous landslides, by unstable government, rocketing inflation, but the work is good and we press on because it's the right thing to do and because it matters. We return on the 6th of April and we're so excited. Actually, we'll be so excited again. This is Kamal with his family, his son Sering there. That's our driver in the blue t-shirt looking really proud. He's so cool. Okay. Kamal talks about how we're like parents for the school and that they know we think of them every day, which we do. Helen, he says, the children say to me that you sit quietly like a pumpkin. And I do actually sit there just taking it in because it's lovely. And I'm challenged because this isn't about my knowledge of education. It's not about the last 30 years I have of education theory, government policy, policy to practice. My LinkedIn profile is of absolutely no interest. Okay. It's about being there. It's about them knowing that we have them in mind, that we think of them every day, that we care about them, and when we can, we get out there to visit. We take our sleeping bags. We sleep by the fire pit on a wooden kind of bed that I suspect they might have made for us, actually. It's hard fundraising work, but we have a firm persuasion, and so we press on. Why? Because sometimes you kind of fall in love and a massive shout of yes bursts from within you. And for now, I have my mojo back, and that's a good thing. I'm not sure they will ever know just how much utter joy we have working with them. The hospitality they show us, how they roar with laughter at jokes and literally roll on the floor. The acute proximity with which we live when we're there. Privacy really isn't a thing in Nepal. I've never known acceptance like it though. And I'm able to do this alongside running a small education consultancy business. Maxine and I work together a lot. We have a government contract and do small pieces of work with networks of schools. So going back to the original question, I may not yet fully be who I want to be, but I'm becoming more that way these days. And it feels grounded and it feels good. So, what about leadership ethics? One of the challenges for leaders is about making difficult decisions. Where I live in Manchester, there's lots of homelessness. I go to Nepal and I see homelessness. A 16-year-old guide took us to visit his home. This is how it is still from the earthquake. They live just in the shelter at the bottom there. Recently, I was asked by email by a teacher from Nepal who'd clearly got my email address from somewhere, would I support him financially with his master's degree? Gave this considerable thought and actually had to say, I wish you well with your studies, but I cannot support you with your master's degree, because actually our sense of purpose is our commitment and support to the school. So we're sticking with that, okay? You can't do everything, so how do you decide what to and what not to do? We know that leaders who are able to understand perspectives of their colleagues and have empathy are better able to motivate their teams. Those people that were with me yesterday afternoon, this is Daniel Goleman's research. Compassion is about responding to alleviate suffering, and it's about appropriate action. But what does this look like in practice? So, just have a think for a moment, and then perhaps somebody can tell me what leadership ethics are. That was a cue. Yeah, that was a cue. Okay, I know. Okay, so leadership ethics, any ideas? I thought that might be one, but actually I think this young lady's just balancing her water on her head. Okay. Leadership ethics. Oh, we've got one here, well done. Let's go.
Person's behavior.
So you can behave ethically, okay? All right. What does that mean to behave ethically? Oh, we've got one here, I think. Yeah, let's go.
Ethics are like the morals that leaders use to rule people. They're like the unwritten rules, and like they use compassion, but it's not like something they have to do.
Okay, so it's a bit more loosely defined, we're suggesting. So it's about morality, maybe the rules by which you work. All right. We've got one here. Let's go here.
I think prioritizing not only what's most important, but what's most achievable.
Okay. So not just what's important, but what actually can we achieve. All right. We've got one here, and I'm hoping for another one. I want somebody else over here to be brave in a minute. Okay.
It's like the person's understanding of right and wrong.
So it's perhaps about right and wrong. What's right and what's wrong. All right. I'm going to come back to you because you have put your hands up loads of times. Have we got anybody else here? No, we'll have one over here and then we'll take this one here, Rafi. This young man down the front, he's working really hard. We'll have one over here, yeah?
I think ethics is the person's behavior towards someone.
So you can behave ethically. It could be about what's right and what's wrong. What about this young man? What do you think?
So the ethics are how leaders are supposed to act in a general way. So prioritizing how they're supposed to act with other people and all of that.
So it's about prioritising and how you act. All right. All right, okay. Oh, you see, now we've got a few more thoughts coming up. Should we just take one more at the back there? Because this side, we did want to hear a bit more from you. Oh, and we've got another one. Let's go for this one. Yes, hello? Oh, so treating others the way you want to be treated. All right. And let's say, honestly, this is the last one on this one.
I think ethics like it seems right and wrong from society's point of view, but like morals is more from the individual point of view.
All right.
What a person thinks is right or wrong, but ethics is more like what everyone thinks.
Okay, so you're saying morality is to do with the individual and ethics is to do with society. Okay, let's hold these thoughts. Thank you. Thanks both. Actually, there's no single definition. It could be about judgments about what's right and wrong, or is it? Because is everything just right or wrong? No. Okay, so here's the rub. The thing with ethical dilemmas in leadership is that it's not just about judgments about what's right and wrong. It can be about what's mostly right or a bit wrong. Okay, or it can be about what's wrong or what's more wrong. Or it can be about actually what's right for one group but will impact negatively on another group. These are the kinds of dilemmas, okay? And truly ethical problems don't disappear once the decision is made. So for leaders, ethical dilemmas, okay, are complex. They're often, you're having to make decisions on incomplete information. It's not black and white, shades of grey. You've often got insufficient time to have to make your decision. And actually, it can look very different depending on what's happening, depending on where your position is on something. So we're going to take a look now at an ethical dilemma. And I've got a team of people who are now going to hand out a little case study for you. Okay? So this is an ethical dilemma about a charity. So the thing is, you work for a charity. I'm going to ask you to read this ethical dilemma. I'll give you a brief synopsis. So really the issue is you work for a charity that's running out of money. Okay? Your charity is there to provide short-term assistance to people seeking employment. But your charity also has quite a few property which you rent out at a reduced rate. So you have a dilemma. So I'm going to ask you to read the ethical dilemma. And then I'm going to ask you to make a decision. Okay, so you've got just 3 minutes to read your ethical dilemma, talk with the person next to you, and then we'll come back as a group. All right, I'll tell you when. So you've got 3 minutes, okay? Oh, by the way, the ones with the star on, what I'd like you to do is work in groups of 3. The ones with the star on, it's a little opportunity for you to practice group leadership and lead the discussion in your 3. Okay? Somebody just went, oh. Okay, I'm just going to ask you to press the pause button because I've got 2 visitors actually here today who are just going to tell you about their perspectives on this decision. So I'd like to introduce Maxine and Linda, and I'm going to invite Maxine to tell you her perspective first.
I'm studying and I'm seeking work. I'm studying hard to earn my qualification, but I'm finding it difficult. The materials I need to complete the course are expensive and increasingly more and more of them are only available online. I currently work shifts in a local restaurant and it pays well. I have very little spare money after paying all my bills and buying food. I cannot ask my family for more support, they're struggling too. I need a computer I can use at home in the study centre. Once I have my qualification, I can get a better paid job which will help my family too. My friend has told me about the charity. She said that he can support people like me who are studying. My friend also told me that your charity offers help with transport to interviews, which again will be so very helpful as I'm applying for jobs now. I think my qualification will give me the opportunity to seek work across the city and maybe volunteer to work with your charity. I know it's a lot to ask, but I really hope you can give me some support.
As you know, I've been a tenant in one of your properties for 5 years. I've never missed a payment. I've looked after the property as if it were my own. You'd be proud to see I have made it a home for me and my child, and it's not been easy as a single parent. It's also not been easy because I've been working long shifts in a fast food restaurant, which for what's been known derisorily as a living wage. I've also been studying for a degree with the Open University so that I can become a teacher and contribute to society. I don't know how I would keep up my rent if you were to raise it. I thought your charity was all about helping people like me, and it seems that you're not about this at all. It just doesn't seem fair or just that I should be penalised in this way. I would ask that you reconsider and think how you might help rather than punish me unfairly. After all, I still believe in your principles, but I have to ask, do you?
Thank you very much, both of you. Actually, that deserves a little round of applause. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to vote. Now, you all have a red and blue card, I'm hoping. So, if you think the rent should be raised, it's a blue card. If you think the charity will have to close, it's a red card. Okay? So you've got to make your decision. You've got to make your decision. So blue card to raise the rent. Blue card, this is the choice I'm giving you today. Blue card to raise the rent, red card for closing the charity. Let's put them up. Okay. I think we're raising the rent. All right. Right, thank you very much, everybody. Well done. Okay, good effort. All right, thank you very much. All right. Tara's telling me that time is pressing on, and she's quite right. So we don't have a great deal of time. I'm just going to ask you to finish your conversations so I can not have to strain my voice. Okay, so we don't have a great deal of time to explore why you've made your decisions, but interestingly, actually it looks to me as if people have stuck with the original purpose of the charity. But here's a really important thing. It's not just about what you decide, it's about how you go about implementing that. And whichever decision you make, it is incumbent on the leader to deliver the message with compassion, explain your decision, take responsibility, and actually try and mitigate any difficult consequences for the most disadvantaged. Okay? There's a great quote here from Maya Angelou. Okay, people will forget actually what you did, but they will always remember how you made them feel. Okay, I'm going to show us a really quick little bit of film footage, if I can make this work. And actually, I'm just in one of those slightly difficult moments where actually small acts of kindness, the everyday deeds of ordinary folk that help keep the darkness at bay. Great words from a great film. I'm going to whiz through a couple of these things. I am going to say that sometimes following your purpose can feel like stepping onto a rope bridge with the water beneath you and uncertainty ahead. But being clear about your purpose gives you the courage to make the decision and be the leader when it's hard. We remain committed to the school that we support in Nepal. Here's a little gang who have really big dreams, and I totally know why I'm doing this. So in summary, courage is born from real clarity about what really matters to you and why. Leaders often have to make challenging decisions, but compassion can still be at the heart of how we live and work. And genuinely leading with courage and compassion makes all the difference in the world. Thank you for joining in today. I'll end with a Nepali greeting and departing gesture. But before I do that, I'd really be glad if Jennifer and Tara and Larry would just come up, because we just have some small gifts for you from England and Nepal, which we'd like to share with you. Janet and Lauren have come from a school called Lime Tree Primary Academy, and they really wanted to bring a greeting, especially from Lime Tree Primary Academy, to the American Community School. So Larry, if you would be kind enough to receive these, and Lauren and Janet will just explain to you what those are.
So this is just a small gift from our school to yours. I asked my class, what does it mean to be at Lime Tree? And that was it. They wrote some messages about how important it is for our school to be a centre of kindness, a centre of caring for each other, and a place where they're inspired to continue that. We were all in tears reading through the messages from the children, and I'm sure they'll touch our hearts too. There's a lovely design on the front cover. It shows our logo, but also, if I can find it. Young artists in my class designed from our school to yours, and front covers, and you can see that they're thinking of you as much as you're thinking of us.
There we are.
I work in the outdoors. I'm not a teacher, I'm a forest school leader, so I teach children how to climb trees and make fires and be creative with the outdoors. And one of my new sort of creative activities that I'm doing is just learning how to pyrography, where you burn wood. So it's just a small gift with the logos, just to say thank you for having us here.
Thank you. Jennifer and Tara, I can't tell you how brilliant it's been to work with Jennifer and Tara. All the planning was just by Skype or email. It's been a pleasure and a joy to work with you, meet with you. We have a gift for you each from the Women's Skills Development Project in Pokhara, where they run a project for women as young as 12, because secondary school is not mandatory, and the women are taught to weave and sew, and because they are then economically independent, they can have a life and be safe. So in Nepal, we give gifts with 2 hands, we receive with 2 hands. So let me give you this, and let me give you this, Tara. Okay, and our traditional welcome in Nepal is to have 2 hands together, and we namaste, which means I greet the divine in you. So namaste, namaste, and namaste, everybody. Namaste. Thank you for listening today. Thank you.